Good evening. My name is Antara Patro and I am a teacher of a senior secondary school in Kolkata. I welcome you to the stories of tribal identity and culture that will explore the role of cross-culturalization of tribal communities in shaping cultural identity and ideology, curated under TMYS Review December 2024 in collaboration with the Center for Asia Pacific Initiatives, University of Victoria. We are also calling for the submission of essays, poems, and short stories under the project. To know more about the submission guidelines and the project architecture, please visit www.tellmeyyourstory.biz. This evening, I consider myself very privileged to be in the company of our esteemed panelists, Dr. Kusum, Dr. Birpal Singh, and Ms. Rianka Sarkar, who will share their views and insights with us shortly. The topic for today's discussion is the role of vocational education in transmitting and mainstreaming tribal culture. Before we begin, I would like to introduce our speakers. Our first speaker for the session is Dr. Kusum. Currently, Dr. Kusum is working as an assistant professor at Central Tribal University of Andhra Pradesh. She has previously worked as an associate professor of travel and tourism management at GNA University, Pagwara. She was engaged in the teaching and research in the field of travel and tourism and was also assistant editor of GNA Journal of Management and Technology. She has also worked in Vara University, Solan and Chandigarh University, Mohali, Punjab. She holds PhD in tourism management, MPhil in tourism management, MBA in hospitality management, Master in tourism management, MTM from Kurukshetra University. She has a blend of industry and teaching experience. She has worked with renowned brand of tourism industry Cox and Kings from December 2004 to May 2010. Her area of interest includes travel, and tourism management, tour operations, tourism resources, sustainable tourism, and tourism marketing. She has published research papers in various national and international journals. She has also attended and presented papers in various seminars, conferences, and workshops. She has also guided PhD research scholars. We are delighted to have you on the panel, Dr. Kushum. Thank you for joining
Thank,
us this evening.
thank you so much.
Our second speaker for the session is Dr. Birpal Singh. Professor Singh is presently working as a professor in Panchayat Administration and Nyaya Panchayat at the National Law Institute, University, Bhopal, MP. He is also the chairperson Center for Tribal Studies and Research at the university. Before joining at National Law Institute University, NLIU, Bhopal, in September 2006, he was a guest lecturer with anthropology, sociology, and social work departments at the University of Lucknow. He has also taught at the Institute of Management Sciences, University of Lucknow as faculty of MBA, HR and IR. He holds a postgraduate degree both in anthropology and sociology with a specialization in social cultural anthropology and political sociology respectively. As a student of anthropology, he submitted his MA dissertation on development prospectus among the Wheels of Mount Abu in Rajasthan. His teaching and research interests include sociological theories, social cultural anthropology, tribal and customary law, sociology of law, legal anthropology, caste and law, gender and law, affirmative action, law and social transformation, and local self governance. It is a pleasure to have you with us today, Dr. Singh. Thank you for joining us this evening. Our third speaker for the session is Rianka Sarkar. Rianka Sarkar is a Bangalore-based children's writer and an environmentalist. She is an assistant professor of English at Mount Carmel Autonomous College. She has authored her debut book, Reconstructing the Border History, Rethinking Space, and has been published in various anthologies and journals for her poetry, short stories, and articles. She is an active member of the International Journal of Creative Research Thoughts. She is a gold medalist from Guru Nanak Dev University and has published papers on the partition history and narratives, folk tales, and cultural studies. We are pleased to have Rianka Sarkar with us. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am. We will now open the forum for discussion. I would request Dr. Kusum to share her insights. Ma'am, over to you now.
A very good evening to everyone. Thank you very much, Miss Antara, for the nice and the generous introduction. And it is my privilege and great honor to be part of this learner panel and share some insights on the topic of role of vocational education in transmitting and mainstreaming the tribal culture. I look forward for an engaging and the knowledgeable session. Culture and education are inseparable, and yet we consider that it is a complement to each other with multiple points of interaction. Education plays a very important role in mainstreaming the culture and also the transmission of the culture. And this can be achieved when the preservation is done from one generation to another generation. The main function of the education system is to transmit the cultural heritage to the new generation. But as we have a changing society, so these keep on changing from generation to generation, and the education system is in such a society must not only transmit the cultural heritage but also should be able to aid in preparing the young to adjust to any changes that they may have come across or in the near future or in the distant future. Education brings a desirable change in both culture and the values for the process and the development of the society. The influential effects of the education on culture are many, such as your preservation of the culture, transmission of the culture, promotion of the culture, and that equips men to adapt the changing cultural pattern, molding the personality and restoring the unity of mankind through the diffusion of the culture and removing the cultural tag. So it is necessary to inculcate that importance of the education and value-based living for a truly sustainable development for every society, and the tribal society is no exception to it. So we cannot ignore the role of the education in bringing about the socio-economic development of the tribe. In fact, in India, post-independence, special attention was given to the tribal population from the isolation to the assimilation and to finally the integration. Different principles has been adopted by the different governments as a guiding criteria over the period of time. So it is worth stating that in 1950s, the government of India had no concrete program for the education of the tribal, but the post-independence, with the adoption of the constitution, the promotion of the education of these tribes became a special responsibility of the central as well as the various state governments. The puzzling and the focal question here is whether the tribal societies can enter into the mainstream while maintaining their distinctiveness and the unique socio-cultural aspect. Also, there is no denying to the fact that if we wish to integrate the tribal population into the mainstream and improve their status, education is indispensable in that sense. So it is only through the education of the tribes that we can ensure a prosperous and the secure life to them. The policy of integrated development of tribal areas can be achieved through the education of the tribes. Even when we talk about the vocational education in the tribal society, even Honorable Prime Minister wanted to promote vocational education. That is why the slogan is there, Skill India. And the term actually skill refers to the vocational skills. Even NEP 2020, our new education policy, that emphasize on the skill-based education. So when we talk about the role of the vocational education or the training in transmitting and mainstreaming tribal culture, we can discuss it in the through the various perspectives. The first that I would like to put forward here is that it can play a role in recognizing the tribal skills and the talent. Tribals have various skills and the talents. I will cite few examples like making the musical instrument, for example, horse hair violin instrument that is made up of animal skin, like tungana, that is a string which is used by the tribes in the Sikkim, bamboo flutes like katik murli that is used by Santhals tribe, then Tonda Ramna that is used by the Chenchu tribes, or the Morchang that is used by the tribal folks of the Rajasthan, drums like Mandari and Koto Loka, and the Kundir that is used by the Muria and the Maria Gonds of the Madhya Pradesh and the Chhattisgarh. Tamak and Tumda drums of the Senthals tribes. Then another skill we can discuss is the tribal paintings like Gond and Bhil paintings of Madhya Pradesh, Swara paintings of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, Varli paintings of Maharashtra, Pithora paintings of the Gujarat. All of them we can say they are the carrier of the oral literature or the culture of the tribes. Tribes have their own way of the agriculture also. They use the sustainable methods, which is a need of the hour at present as well. Another is that another skill that they have, the talent they have, that they have an immense knowledge to identify any species of the tree and the tribal medicinal plants. Cite an example of Tulsi Goda, a tribal lady from Halaki tribe of Western Ghats. She has spent 35 years of her life planting more than 3,000 plants, and she is entitled as an encyclopedia of the forest. Similarly, there are other examples where the tribes are preserving the forest and even converting the barren lands into the forest. And I would like to cite an example of Mr. Jadhav Pyang, who is known as the Forest Man of India, who has converted from the Mishing community in the Mojoli Island. He created the 1,500 acres of barren land into the thick forest. Right. Then the another skill the tribes have is the seed preservation system in the tribal. That tribal community in India is the largest consumer of the indigenous seeds and the millets. The tribal community of the Bay Gond, for example, they utilize specialized vessels such as bamboo-made cholangi, kundri, marsa, etc., to preserve the seed. Same way, indigenous knowledge system of the tribes, especially the tribal herbs and medicine, is highly enriched. So the tribal healing system is another skill that they have. Even there is a person that is a Lakshmi Mikuti, who is considered that is a who is a poison healer from the Kalar forest in the Kerala, and he has her knowledge of more than 500 species of tribal medicinal herbs, and that her efforts to treat the people affected by the snake bites. Then there are tribal games like Sikor, Kati of Jharkhand, then Malakamba that is in the portions of Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, and Maharashtra, Klaripat that is in Kerala, and Thangta that is in the Manipur. So then there is a tribal architecture and engineering system also. For example, there is a piece of traditional architecture that is found in the huts of the Yalgiri hills of the Tamil Nadu that has been passed down from one generation to the another generation. Similarly, the architecture and the engineering methods that are used in building of the tribal huts in the northeastern region of India is an also example of the intelligence that is used by the tribes of that region. Now, the vocational education can play a role in recognizing all these skills by providing them a skill certificate. These certificates can be beneficial to the tribal youth as it can enhance their professionalism. They can help them to get more wages. They can help in having a professional networking, having a more market reach, and most importantly, they can help in inculcating a sense of pride in their own culture. So the certification will also help in exchanging the knowledge between the tribal society and the mainstream. So this skill are often in a demand in both the local and the broader job markets. So they increase their chance of securing the steady employment and starting their own business. There is an example that is there is a State Institute of Plumbing Technology in Patamundai, that is in the state of Odisha, which was established in year 2007. So they are basically this institute helps the local people in getting the globally recognized NCBT certificates in the different skill areas such as plumbing, electricians, painter, carpenter, etc. Another example is Jharkhand, that there is many polytechnic institutions in the Jharkhand, and that government of Jharkhand has also established the Jharkhand Development Society in order to catalyze the skill development initiatives of the Jharkhand. So there are various skill development training programs that are going in the under this Jharkhand Skill Development Society for the tribal as well as non-tribal youth. So this quality skill training that provide in the sectors such as your tourism and hospitality, telecom, security, retail, plumbing, logistics, domestic worker, agriculture, food processing, healthcare, etc. Second aspect is that the how can this vocational training play a role in provide can it can play a role in providing the training to the non-skilled tribal youth as well as additional skills to the already skilled youth. The vocational education can significantly contribute in training this non-skilled youth, providing them the skill that are needed to access the employment opportunities and employ their livelihoods. It can also help in the capacity building, providing some practical skills. As the economies are evolving, new skill sets are required. Vocational education can help this tribal youth to adapt to the changes that are happening in the job market by providing them the training in the emerging fields, just like in the renewable energy, digital technology, sustainable agriculture practices, use of information technology that is need of the hour, using the social media marketing so that they can have a wider market reach. They can offer their services beyond their own areas, maybe at the national level as well as at the international level. Developing the mobile application so that they can again reaching to the market, because getting a market is important for the economic independence of the tribals. Then food processing, so that whatever the foods they are collecting forest, so they can produce that, make a process that, and can produce a product which can have a more value in the market. So training of using technology will help in them having a wider reach and marketing their skills and their products, etc. Then a non-skilled youth can be given a training on the traditional crafts and the practices that can help them to preserve and promote their indigenous culture. So this will not only provide them a means of livelihood, but that will also foster a kind of a pride in their culture or heritage. So that this will also lead to a better job prospects and higher incomes for the tribal youth. So economic empowerment can help in reducing the poverty within the tribal communities and contribute to their overall socio-economic development. So, by creating the local employment opportunities, vocational education can reduce that need for the tribal youths to migrate to the urban areas as well in search of the work, so that can help in maintaining the social structure and reduce the challenges that are associated with the urban migrations as well. Another aspect we can what discuss here is that vocational training. With the vocational training, they will have the employment opportunities beyond their areas. So they will have a more interaction with the mainstream society. They can showcase their culture to the mainstream society. So they can show their talent, they can show their skills to the mainstream society. And once mainstream society knows about their skills, knows about their talents, they would be more appreciable towards them, and they will recognize their roles into the society at the large. So they will have a level playing field in the society, and they will have the access to the opportunities as the mainstream society have. So as these many skills they can teach to the mainstream society also, such as your seed banking, their paintings, their arts and crafts, etc. So to conclude, we can say that the skilled individuals can contribute to the development of the communities, and tribal society, of course, is no exception to it. So trained youth, for instance, they can undertake the project to improve their own local infrastructure, also their healthcare, their education, and thereby enhancing the quality of life of their everyone in their own community also, and they can have they can showcase their talent to the outer world as well. As providing a vocational education to the tribal youth will support the inclusive development by ensuring that this marginalized community is have the opportunity to participate in and benefit from the economic growth of the country. So vocational education can play a transformative role for the tribal society. So, by including that component of vocational education for the indigenous people that go beyond the conventional skills, training to incorporate the cultural practices, traditional knowledge, and the language that will help not only in preserving their cultural heritage but also empowering these indigenous communities by integrating their worldviews and skills into the formal education system and thus mainstreaming the tribal culture into the society at the large. With this, I would close my talk. Thank you so much, Antara, for giving the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was quite insightful. I would request now Dr. Bir Pal Singh to deliver his talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Antara, for introducing me, and also I extend my thanks to my co-panelists who are the part of this session. At the topic, you have chosen the role of vocational education in transmitting and mainstreaming tribal culture. We all know tribals are known all over the world for their unique cultural identities. Though all human beings are only differentiated on the basis of their cultural setups. But tribals are exceptions in this context. Why exceptions? Even after so many years of the constitution making, tribals are still struggling to hire their pace in mainstream cultural arrangement because they are too close to their cultural environment. That the reasons we always say that the tribals are having unique cultural identities. Number one. Number two, so for topics is concerned, vocational education, what the importance it carries in case of the mainstreaming of tribal people, basically the tribal youths, and transmission of their cultural traits from present generation to next generation. Even in international organizations, many efforts have been done. As previous speaker Dr. Kusum mentioned regarding the various traditional knowledge, what to do with term under the word intellectual property organization, traditional cultural expressions. And tribals are unique for that. What I want to say here that under the constitution, special provisions have been made for the tribals so that they can sustain their identities which they are sustaining since time immemorial. And it is also the basic development agenda, what we call today the Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. But what we have seen that after so many years of the constitution making, tribals are still struggling to get their real taste of development because in the name of the so-called development, migration, displacement, being part of forest dwelling communities, tribals are prohibited even to enjoy the benefits of forest resources. Though they are known for the development of forests since time immemorial, and this is what we generally say that there exists a symbiotic relationship between tribals and forest. But as we all know, in the name of the development, the train of tribal development derailed somewhere in the era of so called globalization or in the 21st century, what we generally see. And this is what we see everywhere. Tribals are struggling. Many issues, many people are agreeing, many people are not agreeing that majority of the states, or some part of majority of the states, are still affected by the extremist activities and most of them involve the tribal people who are still fighting for their cause for Jal Jangal and Jamni. Some people are supporting their this uh, I think just to unquote so-called struggle in the name of Jungle Jameen and killing innocent people, and the other are people telling that there is a typical gap between the system and tribals, and that's why tribals are struggling. It means that youths which are supposed to get proper work, they are not getting, and the resultant that they are deviating from normal functioning, and thus unnecessary, willingly or unwillingly, they are indulging themselves into those activities which we may not term, if we may not term as a anti nation, then anti society. This is what we talk about. I'm talking about the next slide, activities. Now, here the role of vocational education becomes important, seeing the cultural components of tribal society. If you have, and Vivekananda also mentioned that hungry belly doesn't work. So, if you have the work, if your stomach is not hungry, definitely you will not unnecessarily indulge in unnecessary activities. In case of tribals, that becomes pertinent for all of us to think, to rethink, and further rethink why mainstreaming of tribals are still not happening in this country after so many efforts on the part of the constitution making and so many laws which have been enacted for the proper mainstreaming of tribal people. And for that purpose, we all know the fifth and sixth rule of the Constitution have special privileges for the tribal culture, and there it has every reference about the development of tribal message of this country. Right. So the question comes, where the problem? Why this talk about role of vocational education in transmitting and mainstreaming tribal culture or cross culturalization of tribal communities? It means, in the name of the development, there is a concrete visible disparity where some of the tribals of this country have almost mainstreamed. For example, the Mehrotra Rajasthan, some of you may not fully agree, but I think almost they absorbed with the system of the society in terms of services and education. But on the other sides, the tribals which are still struggling with, because there are so many further classification even among the tribals, PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, where they are standing. In the era of globalization, in the era of the modern society, scientific and technological advancement, they are the tribal people who are still, majority of them are still the part of collection and gathering economy. The global impact or climate change have adversely affected the total livelihood of these tribal communities who are on the, and many of them are on the verge of extinction. What is required here? What kind of programs are supposed to be initiated? As Dr. Kusum mentioned, that from policy measures, isolation to assimilation, then integration, even the integration not happening the way it was supposed to be happen. So where we have failed, large are there, many schemes and programs are there. We are now separate ministry, Ministry of Tribal Affairs at the central level. But tribals are not getting their due place in the development process of this country. So what is needed, where we have failed, what we are supposed to discuss, so that it may give some sort of results. And if tribal youths are listening this program, so they may be get benefited with this program, which may further enhance their knowledge based on skill education, and that may further help themselves, their community people, to become the part of socio-economic empowerment in the society. So coming to the co-discussion, vocational education and its importance in the tribal communities. As we all know, The first educational commission, what popularly known as the Kothari Commission. This came way back to bring a major shift in National Education Commission, is part of National Commission in school education, and it emphasized on the skill education or skill development of the students, so that they may not only academically enhance their knowledge, but at the same time they are also supposed to skillfully enhance their knowledge, which may provide some sort of livelihood for the betterment of their family and themselves. Same was further repeated, reiterated in the National Education Policy 1986, if I correctly remember, and further much discussed and much emphasized, and today it has become the talk of the town for the whole nation. That is the National Education Policy and New Education Policy 2020. Much emphasis has been, that also highlighted by Dr. Kusum. Much emphasis has been given for skill development, skill education, because everyone are the part of skilled job structures. So what about those people who are not getting proper education, or who are just a mere kind of education, what we say the literate, how they will survive? So that kind of efforts are required, that kind of programs are required, or that kind of initiative are required, so that they may develop minimal level of their existence related to their survival to the community at large. For that purpose, much emphasis has been given for the vocational education, skill-based education, so that it may provide some sort of livelihood for the mainstreaming of tribal masses of this country, basically the tribal youths. For the purpose, the government initiated a National Council for Vocational Education and Training, which I established on 5th December 2018. Okay. It has become functional on 1st August 2020. The purpose to recognize, to monitor, discipline, and de-recognize the agencies and bodies which are running the vocational training centers, whether they are really doing the fruitful or kind of the training they are providing for the skill development of the masses, whether after completing that education, tribal youths are getting jobs in the market or not. That the purpose of establishing such organizations. And Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India, some sort of voice is coming, Antara, I think. So I request,
Yes,
please stop this. Okay. So vocational training centers have been established with the grant given by the government in respect to states, and much efforts have been given for the mainstreaming of tribal youths who are just past 5th class, 8th class, 9th class, or 11th class, or 12th class. Because we all know culture plays an important role to decide the direction of any society. In case of tribals, it has 100% rule, even today in this 21st century. And that's why you may see that dropout rates are very high in case of the scheduled tribes students in this country. Okay, the policy of affirmative action, what we call the policy of reservation, it applies only in case of the higher education system. Now if dropout rates are very high, what about these students who have not reached that level of the higher education to avail the benefits of affirmative action or the policy of reservation? Now, here the vocational education plays important role to provide some sort of livelihood or economic job opportunity to these dropout students, so that they can develop a particular skill in particular areas, maybe just a AC repairing work or any kind of work. We can give many examples: artisans, masons. Okay, so even this level of the education, if they are getting some sort of trade skills, that will help for their mainstreaming. For the purpose, National Vocational Education Qualification Framework was also established, which set the competency based qualification to ensure the skills acquired by students are relevant to industry requirements. And that the reference of vocational education, all vocational training for the tribal students. The area which I am coming I representing right now, the Madhya Pradesh, we all know the Madhya Pradesh still stands number one in terms of the tribal population in the country, right? But at the same time, what is the harsh reality of the social system or social order? Majority of the tribal people are the part of poverty stricken. They're still struggling. And when you say the poverty, it's not only the economic kind of the poverty, there's the mental poverty, the social poverty, health related issues, livelihood. Okay, many issues are there. Okay, so what are the efforts? What the education plays? I would like to draw some efforts of what the government of Madhya Pradesh had done, because we all know there are centrally sponsored schemes or tribal sub-plan. These schemes are only named to create major employment opportunities supported by the central government and respective state government on their sharing basis. Now, some sort of observation on the Madhya Pradesh government, what the government is doing in terms of the vocational education and what the funding patterns. Okay, so if you visit the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, we may see there is a National Council for Vocational Education and Training, which is a regulatory body established in 2018, and I also referred earlier. Okay, to oversee and coordinate the implementation of vocational education and training programs in India, and especially under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs for the tribal students. The purpose of this kind of initiative or training council to ensure the standardization, regulation, and quality assurance of vocational education and training program across the country, so that the tribals youth all over the country may benefit, especially and youth in general. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs is implementing agency for the various schemes where the funds are released to the state government based on the proposals received from state government. And we all know under the constitution article 275(1), it provides the financial assistance to start any program, to any scheme for the tribal masses of the country, whether in terms of the entrepreneurship or any other kind of the system. The present government has initiated many programs of schemes so that the tribal youth may be benefited, like the Pradhan Mantri Adi Adas Gram Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Janjati Vikas Mission, Venture Capital Fund for Scheduled Tribes. It's very important. Venture capital funds, an amount of 50 crore has been sanctioned for the new scheme of venture capital fund for scheduled tribes, which is aimed at promoting entrepreneurship among the scheduled tribes. I think this is also the part of vocational education to develop the skill-based education for empowering the tribal youth in terms of their economic livelihood. So these are the some initiatives. Then opening of the vocational training centers in tribal areas. We all know there is also a legislative enactment, PESA Act, which is a special reference under the fifth schedule of the Constitution, under Article 244(1) of the Constitution, that every effort will be done to ensure the sustainability of tribal cultures in its myriad ways. It means no interference from the outside, and there is also the policy of Panchil, what later known as the policy of integration. Okay, so that I think emphasize by opening the vocational training centers, the ministry gives funds so that many opportunities further. Many other agencies, organizations also equally contributing for the betterment of travel masses, like National Scheduled Tribes Finance Development Corporation. It provides financial assistance in the form of loan through state channelizing agencies, and we refer it works for both NGOs and other kind of voluntary and non-voluntary organizations. So that is the other reference of how vocational training can be improved under this umbrella structure, National Scheduled Tribes Finance Development Corporation. Further, we see the kind of the term of loans, microcredit scheme for self-help groups, आदिवासी महिला सशक्तिकरण योजना, आदिवासी शिक्षा ऋण योजना. I think that all ensures that the vocational education has a kind of the workforce where to meet the demands of various sectors, and thus it promotes entrepreneurship, and it also encourages self-employment and the creation of job opportunities. The another important effort has been done by the government of this country, National Education Society for Tribal Students. Some of you might be aware, and many of you might not be aware about National Education Society for Tribal Students. This is an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India, and the purpose to create all the measures for the education of the tribal children in this country. At the same time, also focus on the skill-based education so that they may get job opportunity in the market in the nearby areas. So these are some of my observation. And then the other institute, like the one I read in the morning, a National Education Society for Tribal Students, NEST. In short, it is known as the NEST. It conducts various efforts how this education, and then we also read about the kind of the residency schools which are being opened in the tribal areas and other respective areas, and one of the known kind of effort by the government of this country, that is the club model residential schools. Major effort to provide skill based education to tribal children so that they may get benefited by many kind of the schemes. Okay, so this is in general. Then some other efforts on the part of the MP government, if I quote, under the Madhya Pradesh Tribal Affairs and Scheduled Caste Welfare Automation System, an app has been developed known as the MAPTAS, MPTAAS. Visit the site, get the money schemes and programs, and accordingly, you enroll for the education or kind of trade which you are interested. And government will effort or respective agencies support to make effort to nearby the industries that after completing the course, they will be absorbed further in nearby industries for in terms of their economic opportunities. Okay, so these are some other efforts on the part of the state governments. Then here in Madhya Pradesh, one scheme, Mukhyamantri Kaushal Savardhan Yojana, Mukhyamantri Kaushalya Yojana. Right? This further help work under the MP Council of Employment and Training, okay, to create a job opportunity. So this is in general what is the importance of vocational education for the tribal youth. So far, the ministry is concerned without disturbing their cultural ethos and ideas. And there is also what is the many international agencies at the part of Right to Development Convention also highlighted for the Indian people in general, but in international law we have a nomenclature term, and tribal people are Adivasi or Janjati in case of our country. So this is from my side in very, very brief. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was quite perceptive and penetrating. Thank you for the talk. Now I would request Rianka Sarkar ma'am to deliver her talk. Over to you, ma'am.
Am I audible, Antara?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just tell me. So I'll be presenting. So I'm having some trouble actually in making the presentation.
Ma'am, is it possible for you to just deliver the talk without presenting as we are facing the
Uh,
trouble?
okay, okay, no problem. I think I'll go for that since there's some problem with the presentation.
Thank you very much,
All
ma'am.
right, all
Yeah.
right, all right. See, so basically, in all my talks, I always, talk about Northeast since it's one of the largest hub of tribal, culture and culture. When I talk of culture, it's not just representation, the entire amalgamation of Northeastern, inhabitants, how they live, their livelihood, everything has been very intriguing. So when we talk about vocational education, my the I mean other resource person have already introduced how they refer to training programs that basically aims to equip the youths with the competencies that are necessary to enter the workforce directly and excel in chosen area. Now, northeastern states. Earlier, we used to talk about seven sisters, but then in Sikkim had also been introduced. Sikkim became a part of Northeast in December 2002, and then this eight states have got their own unique ways of presenting and working out when it comes to tribal presentation. So. See, I'll first talk about what association called NETFI, which is Northeastern Development Finance Corporation Limited. So Netfee is basically a public limited company, which kind of provides financial assistance to micro or small, medium, and large enterprises for setting up industrial infrastructure and agriculture allied products in northeastern region. And they also finance corporations and other offers consultancy and advisories to state governments and other private sectors as such. So the constant effort of NETFI, that is Northeastern Development Finance Corporation, was always to promote and bring forward the Northeastern culture in the form of promoting their handicrafts, handlooms, and whatever is the finished products, or whatever products the Northeasterns created, because they are supposed to be extremely unique and intricate. uh, but somehow Netfee couldn't catch a larger audience because it did not get that kind of outreach. Of course, in the past, Northeast did not have that good connectivity with mainstream India. It was always sidelined. And Netfee, however, to some extent was successful in promoting tourism and, people who visited northeastern states, they would come and buy the things, products as such. Now, something remarkable happened is in the year 2008 when NEIFT came into existence. So, NEIFT is Northeast Institute of Fashion Technology. So this is basically just like we have NIFT, not National Institute of Fashion Technology. So NEIFT was a kind of a remarkable enterprising venture where a group of fashion designers came together and they decided that we have such era of designs and patterns and intricacies in in the tribal hub of Northeast India. Why not? Uh, yeah, am I audible? Am I
Yes,
audible?
ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes, ma'am.
NEIFT, these designers had decided, to bring in the tribal culture, enliven the tribal culture into mainstream India. And they had taken a new step, which Netfi could not do. So what NIFT did is that they had carefully selected all the patterns of Northeast India. For example, the, silk, that is Assam's Muga and Endi silk, then, other patterns for example, the Meghalaya prince, the tribal prince of Meghalaya, and the Arunachali prince. Then the Gamusa pattern. Gamusa is a kind of a rectangular, piece of cotton cloth, which is used either traditionally as a scarf or to wipe off the body after a bath or shower, or something that was always carried. So the patterns were carefully taken, and what those designers decided was that to weave them into different merchandise clothings, and they presented in the mainstream fashion show, in the designs, in the different exhibitions, in the form of bags, purses, even slippers, hats, and all the patterns were displayed in different way. And these designers realized that this was a big success. So in the past, when these artisans were dying out and people were not choosing the vocational education because they realized that it's better to give up and go to the city and seek a job which will give them good money, suddenly there was a huge demand for this kind of intricacies and these patterns, the new kind of patterns and all. And this became a huge success, particularly the salwar kameez, the kurtas, and the other kind of lehengas. Everything were made out of the silk and the different patterns that the northeasterns had. For example, there was something which became famous was the monpas of Arunachal Pradesh. Then there was the Boro tribal design, which denotes festivity and abundance. All these designs were, patterns were intricately woven in the dresses. And we also have the Eri silk of Meghalaya. The Eri silk is very popular in Meghalaya, which has a very unique combination. There are also many, Assamese designs and motifs, logos, which is as old as the Ahom dynasty. So each of these designs kind of, have a narrative to tell, and it came to mainstream and it got extremely popularized. So today you can say that because of this, new effort that was put by these designers about this Northeast India, the all the patterns and all the Northeastern tribal jewelry, arts, and other kind of fabrics and materials that they have, they got into mainstream in a different way. Probably, not everyone is interested in getting the wraparound skirt or the bandana or bodice, but then they can be utilized and used in a different way. So yeah, this is what I wanted to highlight about how the northeastern tribal vocation got mainstreamed.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, Thank you for your talk. Now we will move on to the question answer session. My first question is for Dr. Kusum. Uh, Ma'am, how can vocational education programs be tailored to specific needs and aspirations of different tribal communities? This is my question to you, ma'am. Over to you.
Yeah, as we all know that different tribal societies or the communities have their own way of living. They have their own culture. They have their own skills and the talents, which I also highlighted the different skills of the different tribes in my talk. So, tailoring the vocational education program to the specific needs and aspiration of the different tribal communities that will require, of course, a comprehensive knowledge of their unique culture, their economic and the social context, as well as that has to be very culturally sensitive approach, because the tribal societies are considered as the generally a closed society. So first one I would like to highlight is that we need to understand the cultural sensitivity and the integration. That means that there has to be a cultural respect. So we need to design the programs that respect and incorporate the tribal traditions, values, and their knowledge systems. So that can include training in the traditional crafts, agriculture, and the other practices that are unique to the society, as Rianka ji also highlighted that how that are unique to the different states of the northeastern India. Then another is the language consideration that we need to offer the training in the local language. Even NDP talks about educating in the local languages, and the tribes have their own languages. So, training them in the local language and including the culturally relevant material to make the content more accessible as well as engaging. This was the first one. Second is that we need to go for need assessment while we are designing the educational program for the tribal societies. So that is basically need assessment means we need to conduct the comprehensive need assessment that will help in understanding what are the specific skill gaps, what are the employment opportunities, what are the economic activities within each tribal community. And accordingly, that program can be tailored for the different tribal societies. So that means it is important that we need to create a value addition to their products and the services. So basically, we can say developing the localized curriculum, that is, we need to develop that kind of a curriculum which reflect the local economy and the culture. For instance, in the agriculture communities, we can focus on the sustainable farming techniques, while in the artisan communities, as Rianka ji also highlighted, providing the training to the craftsmanship and to a market access. That we can take various examples of that, how we can go for a tailored vocational education program, like in case of the agriculture, sustainable agricultural practices, pest management, value added processing, so that we can have a finished product rather than a raw product. Then art, training the artisans in the traditional art, modern designs and techniques, and the market access strategies. Then in the for the communities, they need to have we can develop program to give them access to the technology, provide training in the digital literacy, computer programming, and online business development. In case of the healthcare training, for example, we can have the vocational education program as healthcare access, training the community health worker in basic medical care, sanitation, and the health education. And having a not only that, having the localized curriculum, we need to have the flexible training modules also. Creating the flexible training modules can be adapted for the different skill levels and learning phases, accommodating the diverse educational background of the participants. As Professor Birpal Singh ji also highlighted that different tribal communities have the different educational background. Some may not be able to reach to the secondary level education also. Then we need to assess the when going for the need assessment. The third aspect in the need assessment is that we need to assess the economic relevance also. We need to conduct the market research to identify the viable economic opportunities within as well as outside the community. So tailor training is to meet the demands of the local as well as the regional market, and also beyond the national market, that is international market also. So giving entrepreneurial training, incorporating entrepreneurship and business management training that can help the youth to start and sustain their own businesses, leveraging local resources and the opportunities. Third one can be, we can say that there has to be a community engagement while we are tailoring the vocational education program for the tribal community. So integration, the vocational education program in the tribal society should focus to motivate and keep the tribal youth integrated in their own culture. Right, working with the tribal leaders is a key to ensure that there is active participation and cooperation in sensitization programs on the importance of the education, especially the vocational education. So they need to promote intensive participatory community mobilization and sensitization program for the community leaders, and the stakeholders has to work closely with these community leaders such as local businesses, cooperatives, NGOs, the local governments, state as well as the national government. So such awareness generation program should be organized through the experience and the credible institutions that are working in the domain of the tribal education. The fourth one we can discuss into that is that accessible training infrastructure. As you know that tribes generally live there are in the remote areas, right? So using a mobile training units to reach to the remote areas, ensuring that youth who cannot travel to the urban centers, they still have an access to the education. And then another is that is establishing the local training centers within or the near tribal communities in order to reduce the travel barriers and to make that training more accessible. As Professor Birpal Singh ji also highlighted the various central and state government programs that are going on since India's independence, that has state as well as central government has initiated the various schemes and the program which he highlighted. For example, ashram schools, Eklavya Model Residential School, Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, pre-metric scholarship, vocational training centers, etc. So that can help them to this schemes can also be inculcated in the developing the vocational training program. The policy analyst and the educationist also they have been meaning to recognize the tribal culture, language, cognitive strength, curriculum, and inherent learning ability of the tribal children. So that is how the tribal education system can be tailored to the specific need. And by tailoring that vocational education program to the specific need and the aspiration of the tribal communities, these initiatives can become more powerful tool for the empowerment, for the economic development, and as well as a cultural preservation of the tribal community. That's it from my side. I hope that
Thank you,
answers
ma'am.
your question.
Yes, ma'am. Your answer was quite wholesome. My next question is to Dr. Veerpal Singh. The question is, what are some policies and frameworks necessary to support the inclusion of tribal culture in vocational education? Could you shed some light on it based on your own observations and the experience you have gathered while working with the tribes like Bhil, Bilala, Varia, etc.?
Oh, thank you, Antara. I think almost you have special mention only about the three tribes already covered by Dr. Kusum in her reply. So far, the tribals of Madhya Pradesh are concerned. I think Bill in India are one of the major tribal groups, and they also rule here in case of the Madhya Pradesh, Bhil Bilala. But the area which Bhil Bilala are inhabiting, that area is very, very economically poor area. Migration is too high. Okay. Like I have visited as part of one international project. Apparently, I am also carrying uh, one major research project under the ICSR, sponsored by ICSR. Okay, so I visited the issue of the migration. How to bring the change in terms of mainstreaming related to their livelihood by providing skill-based training in the name of vocational education. This is what you wanted to know, what I personally think, right? I think three things are very essential in case of general masses of this country, but particularly tribal masses. Because we all know, even today, tribals are living in the areas which are known as difficult terrains. So, accessibility, affordability, and availability. The three age play important role to decide the development direction of tribal masses of this country. Number one. Number two, as I mentioned, there are schemes, programs, no doubt. The Tribal Welfare Department of the Madhya Pradesh is running many schemes and programs for the mainstreaming of the tribal masses of the Madhya Pradesh. It's not only in case of the Bhil, Bilala, or Bharia, right? And Bharia is one of the primitive tribe, as today what we call the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. So there's a Bharia Vikas Pradhikaran that has also been established to take care of the Bharia tribes. But the problem, Bhil Bilal are basically the agriculturist tribes of Madhya Pradesh. Bhariyas are also in similar line, but Bhariyas are also the part of collection and gathering economy. The problems in case of Bhil and Bilala, their major issue of the migration. So first, what schemes will benefit, how one can stop the migration. So first thing required to establish rapport. When we visit any fieldwork, a research scholars first start that when you meet others, establish rapport. Rapport means to win the confidence for what purpose you are here or what kind of schemes you are going to launch and how it is going further to benefit to the message. So that is that develop a connection between the schemes and the enforcement agencies. The first thing is required. In case of the Bhariyaj, the area which they are living is known for rich natural resources which we generally use in our preparation of food items. I don't know how many are really aware about the that area known for the mahua, harra bahar that use a big masala and very costly. This area is rich for that harra bahar trees, but the people they are not the rich. That is the Bharya tribes. Now it means somewhere the middlemen who are creating the problems. Real benefits were supposed to go to Bharya people who are collecting this, they are not getting their market price. Okay, so I think that's somewhere as part of the good governance, we boast, we talk too much about the good governance. So I think the transparency, reliability, responsibility, they are required features for the inclusion of any message for their betterment related to their mainstreaming, and that same apply even in case of the tribals. Number three, Dr. Kusum also mentioned what is the problem, what are the issues? Issue that is the first is the lack of awareness. We are not aware about. I mentioned some agencies, but I think even earlier I, as a teacher in the area of this, and myself not aware about. Since I was supposed to deliver a talk in this program, so I took my time and then I researched, studied. Here there are many agencies, there are many organizations which are working for the betterment of the tribal mass of this country. So that kind of awareness generation is required so that masses may be in a position to know these schemes or programs for their benefits, for their welfare. So first awareness. So lack of awareness also creating a problem for the betterment of tribal masses. Then in this third point, the number two, the infrastructural issues. We are living the technological issues, digitizations. Tribal areas are lacking all of these. So connectivity is major issues in terms of providing development. Technology may play major role, right? But unless until the connectivity and connectivity involves many infrastructures, we have seen that during the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So if electricity not there, how the internet will work? How the markets can they can avail that outside their own domain there's a global market where they can sell their product, where they can benefit by their skills in global markets. As Dr. Kusum mentioned in her previous in the beginning talk, there are many tribal communities or tribal persons known for their market strategies, and now they have become the global person because they have their skill in the particular area, right? So that is also required to generate that issue among the tribal youth. Then the outdated curriculum, the trade structures, the kind of the ITI, other institutions, that is supposed to be changed, seeing the market demands, industries of the nearby areas, what kind of trade they need, and train the tribal youth in that respective areas rather than that's why the philosophy of the punch sale rather than going on the quantity. Even if one scheme is launched, what the qualitative change it has brought in the life of the tribal people, that is more important. So seeing the industry availability in the nearby areas, the kind of the trade is supposed to be given, and then the tribalists are supposed to in that particular trade so that they may be immediately get benefit from the nearby established industries. So this is, I think, some of my observations. Further, if we say that what is required to accept the employment potential in a particular area, many tribal communities are known for their particular skills. So better to train those tribal youth in their own skills by training them in their own language, because that's the major issues which this country is struggling in case of the tribal message. Though the constitutional article 350A and 350B have clear cut instruction in this regard, but that is not happening. What kind of education we are imparting to tribal youth, that education they are not getting, where their culture set is quite different. So they need to train people among themselves who can train their own tribal people in order to mainstream their tribal master related to the trades. Further, to establish, as I also mentioned, to establish a linkage with recognized institutions for certificate or diploma courses. It may be NGOs or any other kind of the organizations. Then the placement services. Corporations are not coming forward. They support to develop relations with the corporations, right? Big corporate firms under the notion CSR, what we say, the corporate social responsibility. This will provide a major place for the absorption of tribal talent in a particular trade profession. Okay. Then arrange a microfinance easy way, right? Not involving the any kind of middleman who may become a major harassment person rather than helping the tribals. Okay, so I think if this kind of awareness is brought, definitely we will see a change in tribal India, because changes are there, no doubt. There are many organizations who are working, and many tribal communities are known for even the traditional knowledge. Now the benefit sharing is happening, but overall development we have not seen. So there is some effort, small efforts, and this kind of the talk also required on different forums in different way, so that one who is listening, they may enhance their own knowledge, and that their knowledge can be distributed among others. So this is from my side about the mainstreaming of tribal youth and their sustainability of cultural ethos. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was quite deep and detailed answer. My next question is to Rianka ma'am. The question is, you had a recent talk related to the preservation of oral literature of northeastern India. Could you share your thoughts on how vocational education can help in preserving tribal languages and oral traditions?
Uh, okay, Antara, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, in vocational practices like the one that I have demonstrated, that is the art of, weaving patterns, designs by the tribals, they are all somewhere inspired from folklores and oral traditions. The patterns, for example, there's something called gos buta. Gos means a tree, and buta is a form of a round, like a round sort of motif, which translates to tree motif. Now, in most of the, you can say, designs and patterns, you find, there will be images of birds, there will be images of trees, which itself translates to the fact that the northeast, tribal people, and in fact the entire northeast culture is very close to nature. Then there's a symbol of birth is very very poignant in as Miss Prince, because it has its significance in folk tales and oral practices and stories. So yeah, similarly, any kind of vocational practice finds its roots in the culture of the place, that itself is rooted in oral narratives.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for your insightful answer. So, with that, we come to an end to tonight's discussion. I thank each one of you for sharing your knowledge and valuable insights with us. I'm sure our audience had a wonderful time and have learned a lot as well. We are grateful to you all for taking out time from your busy schedules and for being a part of this discussion. It was an absolute pleasure to have been in your company this evening. This is to remind that we are calling for submissions on cross-culturalization of tribal communities, the details of which can be viewed on www.tellmeyourstory.biz. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Antara. Thank you for having us. Thank you, my co-panelist. It was indeed a knowledgeable and insightful session. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, everyone.